Good day everyone, Leo Cheers from Mythmaster here with another video telling you how I would add Marvel characters to Marvel Rivals by presenting you with custom character kits. Sorry that this video has taken a while given it's kind of part of a set of 3, and yeah, I've had lots of just stuff going on, like mostly good, but yeah, I've just been more busy than I thought I'd be, so this is kind of coming about a month later, nearly 2, but yes. In the last 2 videos in this series, I looked at how I'd add 4 members of the superior third of Spider-Man into Marvel Rivals. I'll be finishing them off by adding Overdrive and Beetle, or presenting to you how I'd add Overdrive and Beetle to Marvel Rivals. Starting off, Overdrive. Overdrive would be a 4-star difficulty strategist with, it says 265 health, but I'm guessing that I meant 275 health, or around about there. And his passive, Nanite Network, would mean that whenever an integrated ally is healed, Overdrive and other integrated allies would be healed to a lesser extent. And integration lasts 4 seconds, but can be reapplied to kind of reset for cooldown. As for how you apply integration, well, there's several ways he can do that, and I'll get onto them. The first way is with his primary fire, which is basically a kind of projectile beam, similar to the marches from Overwatch if you've ever played that, but it heals allies and damages enemies. And this doesn't actually apply integration, but hitting an ally with it halts their countdown as long as they're being healed by it. So yes, this is a good way to help maintain integration of allies, because the more allies that are integrated at one time, the more that get healed when one of them gets healed. The whole integration thing is why he's a 4-star hero. His right click ability is Nanite Burst, and it's an AoE ability with a 7-second cooldown, where he claps and damages himself, but heals and integrates nearby allies. This is his main way of integrating allies. When I first started working on him, his left shift ability, Tricked Out Ride, was kind of one of the most unique ideas I'd ever had, or I wasn't sure if it would work in a game like Marvel Rivals. But then Overwatch just went and added it to their hero who came out. And basically I started working on Overdrive's kit a long time before Shion was revealed. But yeah. But basically, yes. Tricked Out Ride lets Overdrive summon a motorbike that he can ride, and he rides it for 7 seconds or until he cancels it. It has a 5-second cooldown, which goes up to 12 seconds if the motorbike is destroyed. While he's riding the bike, he cannot use any abilities other than Overclock, which we'll get onto soon. But he has greatly increased speed, and the bike periodically fires homing missiles that damage enemies, though it would be quite low damage and I wouldn't fire them too often. This just stops the bike from just being a movement ability. His final normal ability is Overclock, which basically just integrates a single ally, as well as speeding up the cooldowns of all integrated allies. Overdrive's last ability is his ultimate Big Wheel, where he kind of sends out a pulse that integrates all nearby allies for 10 seconds, and then uses the nanites in his bloodstream to summon the Big Wheel, which he then rides for 10 seconds, or until he cancelled it. And it's very similar to his bike in terms of he can't use any abilities other than Overclock while riding it, and it fires out homing missiles, but it does a lot more homing missiles and kind of does them in sets, so it fires out a few at a time. And then he also just fires out rings of healing nanites. Plus it'd probably be able to be destroyed, but yeah. This does mean that I probably won't make a Big Wheel character concept in the future though, so sorry if you were hoping for that. And as the anchor of a team up with, which is a team up with Beetle, Speed Demon and Boomerang in it, Overdrive would get a 10% cooldown reduction. Overall, Overdrive is a hybrid poke dive hero, with his main goal being to integrate as many allies as possible. As such, he wants to be on the front line, integrating his allies with Nanite Burst and Overclock, before then hitting them with Nanite Spray to keep them integrated for longer. If he gets killed in the process or needs to retreat, he can pop Tricked Out Ride to get in or out of the action, damaging nearby enemies as he does so, and then he can pop Big Wheel to lead a team push, letting out massive amounts of shared healing and explosive damage. The reason I said he'd work as a dive hero is because if you've got like a Spiderman and a Venom who like both swinging together and stuff, then he can just ride after them on his motorbike and yeah, stuff like that. Just a quick pause here to say if you're enjoying this video, then consider subscribing to see videos like this in the future. The next character I have planned for the series isn't actually a Marvel one, but is Biomech Kayla from Popcross Studios channel, if you've heard of him. And this was recommended by a subscriber. I know there are some subscriber recommendations from like 2 years ago which I haven't gotten around to yet. But if you do comment down a character you'd like to see me make, I might eventually get around to making them. But yes. On to Beetle. Beetle, and this is Janice Lincoln Beetle, not Abner Jenkins. Not because I don't like Abner Jenkins, but because I'm just making the superior foes of Spider-Man in this kind of trilogy of episodes, and she is one who is a member of the superior foes. Would be a 250 health strategist with a difficulty of 2 stars. Her passive ability, Compound Eyes, would allow her to see invisible enemies, and she'd be able to fly permanently, with a slightly faster movement speed than most characters have. Her primary fire, Beetle Blast, would be very similar to Iron Man's, but with lower damage, and it'd be able to heal allies as well, and she'd have 12 shots of this before having to reload. And like, while Iron Man's is kind of a 1-2-3 combo, hers would probably be a 1-2-3-4 combo. Her right click is kind of not the crux of her kit, but it's quite important to it, and that is Lucrative Litigator, which basically allows her to interact with nearby allies, or them to interact with you, to let you pick up and carry them. And while this is happening, you can't use any of your abilities other than Strafe, and they cannot use any movement abilities, but they can use projectiles and stuff like that. And you can drop them by clicking the button again, and they can drop themselves by clicking Interact. It kind of have a maximum duration of 10 seconds, kind of from you picking them up, and then it forces you to drop them, and it would have a 25-second cooldown. Speaking of Strafe, her left shift ability is Strafe, and it's basically a short dash in the direction that she's moving. And to differentiate this from all the other times I've given a character an ability like this, it would cleanse her of any slowing effects that might be on her. And it'd have 2 charges and a 7-second cooldown. Following the kind of theme of her having support abilities that aren't actually healing, her next ability is Transmit, and for 4 seconds reveals the locations of any enemies you can see to your allies, so kind of like a lesser Widowmaker ultimate from Overwatch. And also it shows them not exactly what health they're in, but their outline would kind of be purple, and the darker purple it is, the lower health they are on. And then this would have a 12-second cooldown once it's finished. Her last common ability is Criminal Heiress, where she fires out a small missile that explodes and damages enemies. Then also, it wouldn't do that much damage, but any enemy hit by it would kind of be marked for a few seconds, and when an ally damaged them, they'd heal themselves a bit, and they'd receive some bonus ultimate charge. Quite a few of Beetle's abilities kind of play into her being a bit of a command, as in she can direct her allies where to attack, move them where to go, and show them which enemies to attack, and stuff like that. And this kind of commander aspect is enhanced with her ultimate, Daddy's Little Girl. It is called this as her father is Tombstone, the mob boss, and he'll often do her favours and stuff, and she kind of follows in his footsteps, becoming a criminal, and yeah. But for what the ability actually does, it lets her summon up to 5 thugs of 3 different types, and then for each thug not summoned, she'd gain 20% ultimate charge. So she could kind of, when she used it, she could summon all 5 thugs, and then she'd go to 0 ultimate charge, or she could only summon 2, and then she'd start on 60% ultimate charge. So she'd kind of be able to select how much help she thought she needed. And if any of the thugs are left after 15 seconds, they despawn. As for what the different kinds of thugs are, there's the Bruiser, who would have 300 health, and would run at enemies and attack them with crowbars. It wouldn't do much damage, but it'd be a bit of an annoyance. There's the Gunman, It would shoot enemies while, if possible, moving towards your objective. And then finally, there's the Doctor, who would only have 100 health, but they'd run towards any deceased allies and spend 5 seconds reviving them, and then if they did revive an ally, they'd just disappear. So yes, lots of versatility. Last of all is her team-up ability, where Overdrive is the anchor. The ability would be called Nanite Swarm, and it would essentially let her attach a swarm of nanotech beetles to an enemy, and they'd kind of fly around it for 5 seconds, and it'd damage and slow the enemy, prevent any nearby enemies caught in it. It would also get damaged and slowed, but probably to a lesser extent, and they could just walk out of it. And that would have a 20-second cooldown. Beetle is also a hybrid poke dive hero, though leans much more into the poke side, whereas Overdrive is a bit more balanced, as he can more easily keep up with his diving allies. The best strategy with Beetle is to fly high above the battlefield, keeping as many enemies in view so you can effectively use Transmit, while using Strafe to keep out of danger. You can use Lucrative Litigator in combination with her increased speed, in order to help reposition allies, then fire Criminal Heiress to mark weak enemies, before summoning as many thugs as you need with Daddy's Little Girl. I would probably say that Beetle would have a low skill floor, but with a high skill ceiling. If you've made it this far, thank you for watching, and as I said, suggest any characters, preferably Marvel ones, that you'd like to see me make kits for in the comments below. And if you haven't already, check out my other videos in this series, either watching all of them or just the characters that you're interested in. And, as always, God loves you, have a good day, and ta-ta.